You know, in a world with so much Sonic the Hedgehog merchandise, it can sometimes be hard to keep yourself from just buying it all. You know how it is. Sometimes you just want to spend your entire life savings on Sonic the Hedgehog toys. I get it. But wait, what if you want to save up for that Sonic car you're planning on buying? Or maybe you want some extra funds to get that 10th anniversary ring for your special someone. If only there was a way to have a safe location to store all of your well-earned Sonic the Hedgehog toy money. Oh wait, there is! Say hello to the recently released Sonic the Hedgehog Ceramic Bank. This ceramic bank styled after Sonic the Hedgehog was just released by the company Fab NY. It retails for $14.99 USD and can currently be purchased online on sites like Amazon.com, which is where I personally got mine, as well as at specialty retailers. Before we get into this new release, I'd like to take a quick look back at previously released Sonic banks. Trust me, this is way more interesting than it sounds. There have actually been a good number of Sonic money boxes or banks released over the years. Some notable ones include this one released by Palindome in 2014. The bank has an actually pretty great looking Sonic figure stood atop a Green Hill base, where the actual bank function can be found. This one really has a great sculpt to it, and the packaging surrounding it even uses phrases such as "save like Sonic," and how can you say no to that? One set of Sonic banks that really stands out to me is this set of Sonic and Knuckles. Not only do they look noticeably off-model, but their origins are somewhat of a mystery. No one really knows where these two came from. I've heard that they were released as a bank promotion. The general consensus seems to be that they were promo items, but no one really knows what for. And given their off appearances, some suspect they could even be bootlegs. And this confirmed fake Sonic clock sure doesn't help with that, but some other evidence does suggest they are legit. I've seen these two for sale before, but I've never been able to acquire them. If I do ever get a hold of these, I'll for sure make a separate video just on them, and I'll try to get to the bottom of their mystery. Here's a cool Sega Sonic era set that contains plastic figure banks of Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Eggman. This set could definitely get its own video someday. Without a doubt, the most iconic Sonic bank would be this guy right here. This one was released in 1993, and depicts a very American-styled Sonic sitting on what appears to be some sort of corkscrew. The sculpt on this figure is so weird looking back on it, but it's such a classic. It's definitely worth picking up if you can find it. The sculpt was actually also used on other purposed products besides the bank, such as one that's a bubble blower. It's honestly surprising there have been so many of these Sonic banks released over the years, and we still see them come out to this day. Which brings us to the one we'll be reviewing today. This figure was something of a surprise release. Up until it was listed online, I had no idea it was being made. As for the company Fab NY, they seem to specialize in these novelty items such as these character banks, as well as other stationary items. Looking at their website doesn't give too much info on this release, though they do have Sonic listed as one of their many licenses. You may recognize Fab NY as they've released other character banks in the past, such as this very cool set of Pokemon banks. I don't own any of these, but I've heard they're overall pretty high quality. But can the same be said for this Sonic bank? Well, let's find out, starting by taking a look at the packaging it comes in. The packaging for the bank is surprisingly really nice looking. It's nothing amazing, and it does follow the generic Sonic style we've seen on countless products at this point, but yeah, it looks good. The box has a nice two-toned blue color to it, with the two shades being separated by pixels. I've always found it kinda strange that they use pixels so prominently on modern Sonic merchandise, but it's just what they use. And it still looks alright, if not a little bit unfitting. The front of the box gives us a good look at the bank inside, and while you can't get too great of a look at it, it's enough to the point where you can inspect it. However, a good portion of it is covered up by this render of Sonic running. All of the renders used here are pretty nice looking, and the front, side, and back of the box all have unique renders to them, which is always appreciated. The front of the box also displays the Sonic the Hedgehog logo, as well as a warning saying that this product is only for people ages 8 and up. Towards the bottom of the box is some text reading ceramic bank so you know what it is, as well as some product dimensions underneath that. There's also of course a Sega copyright to show that this is an official product. The back of the box once again shows the Sonic logo as well as the Sega copyright, but it also gives us more info on the company that released this piece, Fab NY. It also states that this is not a toy, which it makes sense that they'd include this here given that it's made of ceramic. There's a chance someone could buy this thinking it's just a standard figurine to play with, leading to them smashing their fragile ceramic bank into pieces. This side of the box shows a product image for the bank, which looks great. The colors on it seem to be a little muted though. The actual figure is much more vibrant. I'll get more into how the bank itself looks when I open the box up, but I do actually really like the sculpt on this. It looks really nice. The top of the box is more of the same but completes the look. The bottom of the box, however, has no details to it, apart from some carried over pixels. Opening up the box is pretty simple. There's no tape on it, so all you need to do is slide out some tabs and lift the top flap. Lifting said flap reveals something very common with ceramic products: styrofoam. All you have to do is carefully slide out the top piece of styrofoam, and then you can take Sonic out, though be warned, he's really not that secure to the box. This should go without saying, but do not open this upside down, because after you get the top piece of styrofoam out, Sonic could easily slip out. Below Sonic inside there is a light blue piece of cardboard to secure him a little more, but yeah, it doesn't do much. And below that is some more styrofoam. Out of the box, and after wiping off some leftover styrofoam, Sonic is looking pretty good. Now, with all the packaging out of the way, let's take a look at the main piece itself, Sonic the Ceramic Bank. Just gonna say it, this definitely looks like the type of guy I would trust my hard-earned money with. And that's not just because the sculpt of it is really appealing, this actually seems like it would function pretty well as a piggy bank. Sonic's design doesn't really lend itself the best to a bank that could store a lot of coins, but they made it work. If you've seen one money box or piggy bank, you've seen them all. Sonic has a coin slot centered on his top spike, and a coin stopper under his shoes. You just simply insert coins at the top, and can easily take them out by removing the stopper at the bottom. That's all very good, but the thing that makes this stand out is of course its sculpt and paintwork, which thankfully given what this is are both very well done. Sonic's got somewhat of a chibi look to him. His proportions aren't exactly accurate, but work with the style this bank was going for. In many depictions, including the renders used on the packaging, Sonic is shown to be decently tall, but that is not the case here. But I think this looks better because of that. I'm actually a pretty big fan of when the so-called modern Sonic design is shown to be just a little bit shorter. I think his design just looks more appealing that way. Plus, what some may simply call inaccurate proportions, I'm sure were done to make this figure serve better as a bank. For example, Sonic's body is much rounder than one would expect, but this was done so you could fit more coins in it. Same for Sonic's legs and shoes. Yes, Sonic's legs are significantly thicker than they technically are supposed to be, but it's all to make this a better product, and I feel the style gives this sculpt a lot of charm, and certainly makes this stand out compared to other Sonic figures. Also, and this is definitely worth noting, considering this is a ceramic bank made to hold money, the whole figure from its head to its shoes is hollow, which makes the figure pretty lightweight and fragile. If you dropped this, it would definitely break into pieces. Anyway, Sonic's head sculpt looks fantastic. Again, it's not completely accurate, but everything comes together to give it a really good look. I really like the expression Sonic has. It's basic, but I think it looks really appealing. Sonic's mouth isn't sculpted in or anything, simply being paint, but it looks very nice, displaying Sonic's iconic swoosh grin, which we absolutely do not see enough of these days. Sonic's eyes are nicely painted on, and while most of the sculpting for the eyes is flat, he does actually have eye ridges sculpted. They didn't need to include that, but they did, and it makes it look way better than it would have had without them, so it's appreciated. One minor imperfection on my figure can be seen here. There's what appears to be a tiny scratch on the side of its eye, and this was there when I got it. This is just a small factory error, which considering this is a cheap novelty bank is totally fine, though it does make me question how much quality control this has. There are a few other imperfections that can be seen on the figure. For example, the paint job isn't perfect. The paint on Sonic's nose in particular isn't very well done, and there are some other instances of the paint not being entirely clean. But again, I don't really expect something like this to be perfect, so I don't really mind it. Sonic's ears are pretty flat but are sized well, though the best part of Sonic's head I'd say would be his spikes. These look excellent. All 6 are here and they're all perfectly sized. Moving on to Sonic's body, this is where the whole chibi look of the sculpt becomes really apparent. The pose Sonic is sculpted in is interesting. I imagine they decided to not put Sonic in any special pose to both keep a symmetrical look and to keep the body rounded so that they could make the inside more hollow. Sonic's arms and hands look really small when compared to his legs and shoes. His legs are massive when compared to his arms when they usually should be around the same size, but given the context here I understand why they decided to make it look like this. Also, the paint job on his hands looks especially messy, though the thing with all these paint errors is that none of them are too noticeable from far away, so unless you really inspect it you probably won't even notice them. On the plus side though, he does actually have finger details, which I suppose in some ways makes up for the lacking paint. Looking at the back, they did include Sonic's back spikes and his tail. His back spikes don't really shoot out backwards at all, more so to the side, which is slightly inaccurate but still looks fine. The tail looks great though. Sonic's shoes are nice and large. The white straps aren't sculpted, simply being just painted on, but the gold buckles actually have a very subtle raise to them. I didn't even notice this at first, but if you feel it, you can tell it's there. The treads of the shoes are also raised a bit, which is especially noticeable in the back. Looking underneath the shoes, this is where some interesting stuff can be seen. For one thing, there are these 4 white soft tabs on the corners of Sonic's shoes. This makes it so that when standing upright, the figure isn't touching whatever surface you put it on. As it's made of ceramic, this is a great design choice, as it makes it so that you can slide it across a surface without the two potentially scratching each other. There's also of course the coin stopper, which can be taken out somewhat easily, but the most interesting thing to see here is actually the copyright information. Here we have more info on Fab NY. That's not too interesting, but on the opposite side, we have this. Of course, Sega of America is here. However, a company named WeDo is also credited. WeDo Productions was the name of the company that animates the show Sonic Boom, which in of itself makes you wonder why it would be here on this main series Sonic product. However, to complicate things even more, sometime in 2016, WeDo changed its name to Technicolor. This was released in October of 2017, so how their old name still managed to make it onto this product is quite a mystery. Interestingly though, Technicolor has appeared on other non-Sonic Boom products, such as on the boxes for these Tomy translucent classic Sonic figures. There's definitely some licensing shenanigans going on here, though I'm in no way experienced enough to comment much more on it. Very interesting nonetheless. So, would I consider this bank a good purchase? Well, it's only $15, it's pretty well sized, it looks really nice in my opinion, and it serves its purpose well, so yeah, I'd say so, especially if you want to actually use it as a bank. I mean, hey, only $15 to get you a Sonic bank, thus immediately making you the coolest kid of all time? Seems like a pretty good deal to me. I won't be using this as a bank, but if you happen to be looking for a piggy bank substitute that happens to look like Sonic the Hedgehog, this works very well. I'll personally be keeping mine as simply a display figure though. I'm not sure if Fab NY has any plans to do any more Sonic character banks, but they have done several for Pokemon, so it is possible. A Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, any character bank to go with this one would be very cool. Having several characters in this chibi style on display together would look really nice, but as of right now, I'd recommend picking this figure up. We don't see too many of these unique Sonic novelty items come out nowadays, and I'd say this one is unique enough that it would make a great addition to any collection.